if you really look at some of the puzzles, for example, the jigsaw puzzles, typically you get into a table or dining table and then open up the jigsaw puzzle pack, and then you have got so many different pieces, and it can't be worked on by one person alone. The more hands you have, the more brains at work, the better it actually gets in terms of getting the pieces together and building, getting that big picture. So in the same context, it's a teamwork in terms of developing a product. It's not one. So even though they say the developers and the programmers are the most at the heart of development, it cannot be said that they're the most important, and everybody else can be ignored. So you still need the support of the analysts, support of the architects, the testers, all of these, and the product owner setting up the roadmap and the guidance, and the scrum master coming in and helping them to remove any of those problems and obstacles. So in that context, it's a teamwork in place. Agile and Scrum are about teamwork, engaging and empowering the teams, and that is at the heart of Scrum. So but then let's look at what really is this Scrum. When people keep talking about Scrum, what is it? Scrum really? A Scrum is actually, it came from rugby, the game of rugby. So I'm not sure how, if you've had this, if you've ever played, or if you've had a look at rugby game. It's a bit of a violent game for some of the people, but then it has got a bit of a lot of different plays and principles and rules around the game. And so the two teams actually vie for the ball, and then what happens is when you keep going, you actually need to pass the ball back as you go forward, and then you score a goal by hitting it, and then you get a. So there are different rules for that. Let's not get into the game of rugby, but then in rugby, one of the techniques, one of the game plans is to actually kind of, if you've got the ball out of the play, is what we call, that is outside, again you need to bring it back into the play, into the ring of the players set up, and that's what is called a scrum. So you actually scrum together. So if you see the whole setup, you actually collaborate, work together, hand in glove with all the other people, and then make sure that you actually get the ball back into the game, right? So that's a typical Scrum in real rugby game. So that's the origin of the word Scrum. And then if you really look at it from the context of view of software development, well, Scrum is an agile methodology. It's a flavor of agile development. There's so many other flavors that we have had a look at already. So one out of those is Scrum. It's not the only agile development. So it actually is iterative. So basically, it is an iterative development. So you don't have one product with a big bang release. It's actually done in iterations, going in a continuous development loops. And then in here, everything is worked together as a whole team. It's not one person or one. It's not like a project manager, and the project manager dictates the terms to the project leader. Project leader tells it to the technical leader. The technical leader tells it to the module leader. The module leader gives the command to the developers. It doesn't work that way in Scrums. Everybody's a team, and there's no project manager. There's no manager as such. There's only a Scrum master, but Scrum master is not a manager. We'll talk about the roles later. So the team would be planning, the team commits, the team does everything, the work. So the team owns up the product. And the focus is on business product. It's not on the technology. It's not on something which is important for some people. It's about business, what matters, what is it that we can deliver the business value. And that's what is the focus on. And that's why, going back to our example of the mobile accessory website. So the first thing that you would deliver is what matters with the customer, to actually see what it is that you're offering them. So they can actually have a look at, even before they commit. It's not about logging in, registration, all the things. It's about the products that you're selling, that you have got on offer for them. And that's why the important thing that you deliver first in November, by November end, or late parts of December, is basically a catalog. First, let it go out, and then they can place the order anyways, in terms of either calling you up by phone, or sending you an email, or in some other format, and sending an invoice, or whatever it is. It can be done anyways. But the important thing is first to actually let out the business value of showing what you have got to sell for the customers and users. So that's the reason why I've actually prioritized the catalog as the first release, and then the shopping cart, and then finally the payment. Because once you have actually got the shopping cart in, once you added your items into the catalog into the cart, you've got a basket of your own, your wish list and your basket. So you can then say, well, I have got this. You can then take a printout, you can actually download it, or you can actually say that, send it through an email. It can be done. The payment can be done in many ways. That is not the important thing. What is important is the ability. The next important thing is to be able to add the items into the cart. And that's why we have given that as a business value item. That's why we prioritize that as a next release. And then the whole idea is about time box is very important. You need to time box it. If you do not time box, you will never achieve anything. So that's the reason why Sprint stresses on the importance of sprints. The Scrum stresses on the importance of sprints and sprints. Sprint planning, sprint execution, sprint review, sprint retrospective, and Scrum, daily Scrum. So we'll talk about all of these. Don't get confused with all the terminology. I'm going to explain that to you with examples in the coming slides. So that's why Scrum is really popular, because it's all about time boxes, delivering in that rhythmic cycles of every 3 weeks. It's not after a year, 2 years, like how we did in Waterfall, as I was telling examples of how I worked about 18, 19 years ago. And then it's all about incremental delivery. It's not about, okay, you keep working on loops and doing the same thing again and again. No, you need to add value to that, right? For example, in our context of the mobile accessories website, first you developed catalog, and then you would have actually got some changes, you improved, and you're not really working only on catalog for the rest of your life. You delivered catalog. In the next 3 months, you're delivering a bigger functionality called the shopping cart. So that becomes a bigger in terms of richer functionality. And then after about 3 months, by April 2021, you're delivering the payment, accepting card, online payment using a credit card. So you're actually increasing the scope of your product, adding more and more features, making it richer and richer, better and better in terms of how it looks, how it works, and adding it more and more important and urgent things from the point of view of customers. So it is actually taking a better shape and form as the time goes. So it's incrementally, it's getting developed. And that's the, again, crux of Scrum. It's not about just delivering something and going back to it the next week and then going back to the next month and doing the same thing over and over again. It's not that. It's about adding value and bringing it more and more richness in terms of the functionality, the usability, and the quality as well. So all of these would really add a value to how you would perceive to the Scrum and how you really work in the context of Scrum. So it's all about iterative, and then not just iterative, but also incremental. And that really is at the heart of Scrum. It's the iterative approach, the team empowerment, focusing on the business value. It's all about business. It's not the technological excellence. You're not really boasting about coming up with the best technology that could actually, as we discussed the other day about the Concorde flight. It's not about the technical superiority or the fantastic marvel of technology, right? It's about, end of the day, would it deliver any business value or not? If it's not, it's a flop. The product is going to be a flop. And that's what happened to the big, huge, fantastic product called Concorde flight, right? So the same thing, we'll spend a lot about these in the later part of the sessions, and we'll talk about how we can identify and prioritize the business value. And most important thing you should remember is the time boxing. Very critical, because you're not delivering all at one go. It's not a big bang approach like the Waterfall, where you never had the contacts or the touch points with your customers or the users. The feedback never got in. And then your project on the product was supposed to was bound to be a failure, because you did not get the feedback, get what mattered to them, get their views, their perspectives, their needs, whether it's meeting the needs or not in the first place, right? So that's why it's a failure in that case of a Waterfall, where you just did not have enough feedback coming into the loop. Whereas with Scrum, you're constantly getting after the end of every time box, potentially every 3 weeks, potentially you can go to your customers and getting the feedback, and then you're adding and that set of changes, improving the product and making it richer, bigger, better, and more functional.